Hey, welcome to Truth Tuesday with Pastor Josh. Truth is the true and actual state of a matter. It is conformity with fact or reality. It is verified. It's the real deal. Let's look at what that means today on Truth Tuesday. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. This is chapter 2 of our journey through Brant Hansen's book, Unoffendable, which I encourage you to pick up a copy if you haven't already. We're basically giving you the cliff notes. I'm giving you some of my thoughts on the book. Basically a chapter a day for 24 days, with the Fridays being kind of more of our fun Friday, a little bit different. So Monday through Thursday, we've been focusing on this book. And so we'll be doing that through the middle of August. And so if you're journeying with us, I just encourage you, if this book is sounding like something that would impact your life at all, and you're going to put it into practice, then I would encourage you to pick it up. You know, I talked to a pastor friend of mine recently who said how he didn't necessarily like the book as much because he saw that there's a lot of people who read it, who didn't apply it, were so far from it. It's like they read it and it just went right over their head. You know, we have to be able to read these things, and really anything we give ourselves over to, we have to be able to give ourselves over to the Lord to change us while we read it, while we learn from it, because otherwise it's no good to have knowledge. It just puffs up. And so, as we jump into chapter 2 today, chapter 2 is entitled, Everyone's an Idiot But Me. Everyone's an idiot but me. Oh, man. You know, yesterday we talked a little bit about anger and our call to be unoffendable. And this is a big one. Everyone's an idiot but me. I don't think any of us would say that to anyone else's face, but boy, do we act that way. I've done it myself. In my back of my brain, I've thought, man, that guy's an idiot. When you might say, well, you're a pastor. How can you possibly think that? Because the devil's an idiot. You know, the devil's an idiot. Well, he is. But I was going to say the devil's a punk. And he likes to, while we're not really paying attention, he likes to sneak that pride into us. And that's really where that comes from, is that we're thinking that we're better than the person next to us. We're better than everyone else. We're not as bad as that guy, you know, it's that kind of thing. And so as he jumps into it, he shares some really kind of funny conversation stories, you know, analogies about this in action, about everyone else is an idiot but me. You know, he uses some pretty funny language just to describe it. You know, he talks about how you know, he has this tweet statement in here. He says, yeah, you should tweet this. Just tweet, everyone's an idiot but me. I'm awesome. Of course, he's being very sarcastic, and just because that's not really the case. You know, we truly believe that everyone else is a jerk but us. And so when things happen, wrong things happen, at least we perceive them to be wrong to us. We immediately assume that we're the right party and the other person's the wrong party. And he also makes a case at the end of the chapter 2 that usually, you know, we know that there's two sides to every story. But many times the first story we hear is the one we assume is the correct one. And man, I've seen that a ton in pastoring. People will come and tell me something that happened or what's going on, this situation with so-and-so, and they share the story, and it's always, they believe the first one that comes to them and says something about what happened. They believe it has to be true because they're the first one to say something. Which is crazy logic, right? I mean, it doesn't make it any more right than, you know, the one who comes to him afterwards. But and he says here, whatever anyone's done to me or to anyone else, I stand just as guilty. People have lied to me, but I've lied too. People have been unfaithful to me, but I've been unfaithful too. People have hurt me, and I've hurt them. I get angry toward murderers, and then here comes Jesus telling me that if you ever hated someone, and I am the murderer's moral equal. He says, no one likes to hear this. We want to think people are worse than us. It's one of our favorite pastimes. He says, don't believe me? Here's an experiment. Go to the mall food court, or for us, I mean, we're in a small town, America, go someplace where people gather, and it says, grab some food or whatever, sit down, and listen to conversations around you. Compare how often people are telling stories about hurtful, wrong things other people did versus confessing hurtful, wrongful things they did. And so he basically makes the case that he's like, you're not going to hear a whole lot of confession around the tables. You're going to hear a lot more blaming. And even Adam and Eve in the garden, what happened? The very first mistake happened, and Eve blamed Adam, and Adam blamed God, and it just goes around and around. And so it's easy for us not to look at ourselves as the jerk. It's easy for us not to think of ourselves as the idiot. And I have been really in a journey recently over the last year, I suppose, of believing more than ever before that one of the crucial components of our faith has to be a deep understanding of the depravity, the not good enoughness of humankind, of myself, not just humankind, some distant thing, but personally, that I am undone, I am not good, I am not all that I need to be. I don't match up to the standard. I have to remind myself of that. I have to understand the depth of my depravity before I can understand the depth of God's grace. And if we keep ourselves in that position where we understand, first and foremost, we have to take the plank out of our own eye. That's what Jesus meant by that, before taking the speck out of another. Because as we begin taking that plank out of our eye, we'll understand that job never ends. So really, you don't pull the speck out of your brother's eye. Really, you have to focus your attention on yourself. And if you do that, you'll find out that you're more of a jerk than you thought you were. And I've realized that more and more, that it's like, man, sometimes I can really be a jerk, and I need to allow the Holy Spirit to help me see those times so that I can begin addressing them. He says the moral of the story is that we believe the other guy is always the jerk. He says, many times in my life I've vocalized in traffic something like, man, what a jerk. I can't remember ever not once saying, man, I am a jerk. Why? Because I'm a victim. My intentions are pure. Other people are the perps. I'm never a perp. So he's using some different language here, but helping us to just get a good picture of what he's trying to say here. He says it's as natural as breathing, but that doesn't make it right. It's as universal as eating, but that doesn't make it right either. Because whatever they did, we are just as guilty. We're not entitled to anger. We don't have a right to it. He goes on saying a few different things here. I can let stuff go because it's not all about me. He shares some different studies that they've done in reference to that. And then he also shares from Proverbs 18:27 or 18:17 rather. He says, the first one to plead his case seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. So his challenge is that, we have to remember that in every situation it's possible that we're the jerk. And we have to examine that. And before we run and say, well, that person's a jerk, they hurt me, we need to look at it first and say, has there been something that I've done? What's my part in this situation? And we have to deal with that first before we can actually be honest about the rest of it. And so I thought that was really good for us to examine some of our motives. And so I encourage you to do that today. Why are you angry? Do you really think that you're not the jerk? Do you really think that you have it all together and that everybody is an idiot but you? Hopefully we don't believe that. Hopefully we believe that we, in this time of need Christ to help us, because we can be the jerk and we can be the idiot at times in how we respond to the people around us. So Lord, help us. So I pray that you would allow him to do that, to help you today as we ponder this chapter and as we look forward to tomorrow. Thanks for joining me today. I look forward to sharing chapter 3 with you tomorrow.